Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns. I'm the founder and CEO of Tier 11, and this is
Lauren E. Petrullo, the founder of Mongoose Media.
As you can see on YouTube, we are not in two different locations. We are actually in the same location. This is not like AI-ified. That's right. Like she's actually touching me. I know. That's kind of weird. This is not an AI chatbot right here that looks like Lauren Petrullo with the blonde hair and the brick.
Good brick.
Good brick.
Good brick. You're going to call me a brick house.
So they're not going to rename it the She's a Brick House lipstick. We just shot a video about Lauren's cosmetic line, and this is Good Brick. Yeah. And I even put some on. So we're going to have to leave some links.
Oh, 100%.
Show notes. For me trying on lipstick for the very first time. It's never actually happened because I didn't have girls growing up. So I never did like dress up or anything. Yeah. Like my sister was not like a girly girl. And plus I didn't have girls like when we started having kids. So I didn't do any of that sort of stuff. So,
I will bring pink heels next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do dress up next time you come to Boston. So as you can see, Lauren E. Petrullo is here in Boston in the Perpetual Traffic podcast studio, which we were just talking about. We should really trick this out. So you come on a regular basis. And we actually bring in guests.
Ryan Reynolds.
Here. Ryan Reynolds, we're talking about you. Layla Hormozi.
Absolutely.
Alex Hormozi.
Yeah.
You should come here. Absolutely. Well, those are all things that we're planning on doing in 2025. You're on your way to Europe.
Yes.
Right now, which is actually super interesting because I think a lot of our listeners are probably confronted with the same challenges that you and I are as far as like how we manage our vacations, how we manage our time when we're traveling, and or we mix travel with business. Yeah. That's what you're doing on this 3-week European tour. There is, travel, business, pleasure, all that sort of stuff, all wrapped into one. How do you actually do it? And now you're going to be like, one of the cool things about going to Europe is that you're 6 hours ahead of everyone.
Yes.
Which is totally advantageous because you can look at it one way. You can get a lot of work done like in the early part of the day, or you can just say, I'm going to start at like noon or 1 o'clock. So what's your modality of working when you're over in Europe with a largely US based company?
So usually I'll start my day at around like 10:30, 11, because we'll have a really nice breakfast and I'm sleeping in.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll have calls as late as like 11 p.m. or midnight. That's not normal. That'll be the exception versus the rule. So I'll typically start around 11 a.m. Lots of light. I have lunch that comes and interrupts my day 2 hours later. So the first 2 hours is like so productive for me. And then when I talk about lunch interrupting, my husband's from Italy. So when we're there, we go for a few weeks and I have an amazing meal brought to me. So I have so much productivity and then an empowering lunch. And then my team wakes up.
Yeah.
And I've already done everything that they needed from me, usually. And then I'm just fulfilling and updating on the leftover stuff versus in the US, you can sleep in and then just feel like you're playing catch up for a week.
Yeah, so true. Well, I think, we have a large portion of our workforce over in Europe, and they find it really, really helpful in two different ways. The fact that they can get ahead of all the people that are in the US, because most of our workforce is largely US. But, we're in 23 different countries, so it's hard to say exactly. But, a lot of it is actually in the EU and in the UK. And there's two different schools of thought. You can either work earlier if you don't have a lot of calls. Like if you're client facing and you're in Europe, you are going to have to stay up until like 11 or 12 at midnight, but if you're not client facing, you might not have to do that. You can just get ahead and do all your work in the morning and then leave it like a normal hour. But it sort of depends on what your role is, sort of what I find. So, the folks that we have that are client facing that we're in Europe, they typically just start like an hour before like the US kind of wakes up.
Sure.
And then most of their work was done between that 12 noon and, 10 p.m., with breaks in between, that kind of thing. So, as the CEO of the business, you're probably working both ends of that. It sounds like, with hopefully some breaks in between.
Oh, I mean, I'm there to eat my way through Europe. I expect to come back at least 7 kilos larger. And, that's a lot. I'm going to put
7 kilos.
work in on my appetite.
That's a good goal.
Well, I also.
I notice it's in kilos too, not in pounds, because you're in
it's
Europe.
a lot more to admit.
That's right.
I typically
doesn't really seem like all that, but that's 7. That's
I usually get like 4 to 5 kilos when we do like a month abroad. But I'm ambitious because I've got some great client meetings that we're going to. We're going to new cities that I haven't been to, and I'm just accepting reality that
it's gonna happen.
These sweatpants are a good thing.
There's worse things. I mean, you are in Europe after all, but you probably do a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Walk fair. A lot of it off.
It's so much walking, and actually, I asked my friends to send me running playlists. So I just finished Emily in Paris season 4, and she runs in Paris. Like, I'm going to run in all these different European cities that I'm going to.
Oh.
So I'll get to do my own personal walking tour.
That'd be a cool, like, reels, stories kind of thing. Here I am in Paris, walking my run. Like, there's the Eiffel Tower in the background, and you're in the next city, and you kind of do like a whole series.
100%.
A running series.
Just be like, run around, run in my mind. We'll come up with something way better. But that was my goal. If I can run 4 days a week, means 12 total days. I've got playlists. Anyone that's listening that has recommended songs, like, please send them my way. I am not a runner. I'm the person that goes to class and gets told what to do.
So you're going to be independent.
Yeah. I haven't run since I played soccer.
Good luck. I tried to run a couple of weeks ago. It was a disaster. Everything hurt. While you're in Europe, we're actually doing our leadership team meetings, our quarterly meetings this week. We're doing it virtual because we couldn't really get it together. And we're also figuring out, we can actually announce this. Finally, we've been waiting to be able to do this for about a month and a half. Really exciting. We have merged or joined forces with a creative agency called Loft 325. And one of the best, if not the singular best creative group I've ever seen. We've been working with them for about a year now in a white label capacity. It was just sort of a formalization. We're like, well, why don't we, we work well together. We have very similar core values, same beliefs in like where we want the business to go, same desire to revolutionize the industry, because we feel like the agency space is just, it's a lot of that. That's the reason why I think we bonded over this whole thing here, is that, like, we really don't care about how good we look as an agency. It's all about how productive we are for our clients to help them scale and grow their business and ultimately achieve their vision. And Loft 325 perfectly sort of matched into that, like, hand in glove almost. And really excited. They do a lot of social media management. They do a tremendous amount of branding. Some of the best TikTok videos that you've ever seen came from Lauren Schwartz, who we will have.
The other Lauren. I'm a little jealous.
We will have her on the podcast soon, and we'll also start having her on our Tier 11 lives, because the stuff that she does is just absolutely incredible. Creative, I think, is one of the biggest drivers of growth on media channels, especially for the social channels. Yeah. And these guys just have it really dialed in, and really excited to have them part of Tier 11. So that's a big announcement for us. We'll do doing press releases and a lot of these sort of formalized things, but we have let all of their clients know. That's what we were sort of waiting on. So it's been actually in the mix for about a month now, and I've kept my mouth shut. It's amazing that I actually shut up until this point in time. So this is part of the whole thing. And as you know, really good creative is the key to, I think, most everything in top of funnel awareness, consideration, ultimately conversion when it comes to paid traffic and just being able to scale and grow businesses. So we're talking to them. This is the first time we've actually had their team in with our team for our quarterly meeting this week. You
ready?
Yeah.
It's going to be like,
I'm ready.
New boss.
Well, my COO is coming in here this week, and we're actually going to do it together as a virtual meeting. So
Cool.
yeah, so pretty excited about that. And if you don't do leadership meetings, if you don't have a leadership team, or you don't like take time out every 90 days to bring your team together, I don't know if you do this physically or you do this virtually, but I think it's super important to level set. Like, we're big fans of traction and EOS, which a lot of folks are. But we really do implement it and hold everyone accountable for rocks that are 90-day rocks, that are goals that actually move the business forward to ultimately achieve the big goal. So if you're not doing that, we'll leave links in the show notes. If you're not familiar with traction and Gino Wickman, we're huge fans of that. What kind of planning do you all do every 90 days?
Your L10 meetings, when you talk about them, I was like, okay, I want to grow up and be like Ralph, because so much our planning is focused on our clients. So you do a good job because you do planning for the clients, but you also do it for your agency.
Sure.
Like, you've had this strategic alliance, you've acquired Lauren's firm, and that's something that we're relatively new in, just being transparent. So Q4, like, we just 90 days. Wait, hold on. This is going to sound really dumb. Last year I realized that a quarter is 13 weeks and not 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was last years old when I figured that out. I was like, 12 weeks. No, it's 13. And so I was like, is it 90 days? Hold on. 360 divided by 90. Yeah, it's 4. Okay, so that was like, wait a second. It should
52.
be. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing like 4 days over and like getting screwed by February 29th.
Well, I mean, there's, what is it? 21 working days per month, 20.4 working days per month. And
176 hours per week.
That's right. They're all 24 hours in a day. But yeah, if you
Marketing
actually do
math.
marketing math, if you do it by quarter, I mean, like January through March, I believe is 13 weeks. And then
No, for sure. Yeah. It's 13 weeks. When you say 90 days, it sounds so much shorter than when I think of a quarter, because it feels like 90 days is like barely over 60, which I know that's not equally distributed. It's just when you said 90 days, I'm like, oh, we don't meet that often. But in quarterly terms, like what we've got for Q4, we've talked about what our big rocks are and how we're introducing service pages. Because if you ever go on mongoosemedia.us, the site is sorely lacking with information about what we do. And we just filmed the welcome video based off of Dr. Cialdini's recommendations.
Cool.
And putting together like service pages that explain, hey, what we do with chatbots, hey, what we do with email marketing, which we've had, but improving those. Because otherwise it's just been so dependent on phone calls. So this is like the second time we're coming together to talk about growing Mongoose Media versus where it's been so referral centric. We've not had to do anything. No, we should have done anything. It's not that we didn't have to. I just didn't prioritize it.
Well, you're working on your client accounts. I think a lot of agencies, a lot of service-based businesses are focused more on helping their clients as opposed to working on their own stuff.
Shoe cobbler.
Yeah, cobbler's kids have no shoes. Just turning off our notifications here. Hang on, Kevin. Why did do not disturb not?
Because messages does it all the time. I hate I try to open up yours when we're doing messages, and then it just pops.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Sorry about that, Kevin. Kevin. So yeah, so you're getting into it. It sounds like.
Yeah. So just being transparent, like a lot of what you and I have talked about on and off the podcast, especially more like the offside, because you've been a mentor of mine. I really look up to you, and you even wrote a book on this, right? So in those things, it's what we've been in. Why are you shaking your head? You did write a book on this.
I did. I did write a book on this.
Yeah. So it's
one of these days I'm going to promote it.
Well, I'm promoting it now.
Virtual boss on Amazon.
So it's something that we are working towards, and it feels good to have. We have our pages that are into development that's talking about a lot of what we do, because more often than not, especially family, if you are listening to this, which I found out my brothers didn't even know there was a podcast. Oh my gosh, I know. If they do start listening to this, they'll be like, what does Lauren do? And I'll be like, now you can look at the website.
Right. This is actually what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first listeners to this podcast were my mom and dad.
Well, yeah. At least you got your mom. My mom,
They still didn't know it. They had no idea what we were talking about in the first 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah. But they actually thought the little perpetual traffic, it's kind of a wheel.
Yeah.
They said, when is the wheel going to start spinning? That was their big feedback. We didn't know what you said with those other people, but when does the wheel start spinning?
Okay.
It's like, okay, well, we'll have to work on that. So talking about websites, getting to the core of the show here today. And I'm going to put you on the spot because you do chatbots and AI. Does mongoose.media.us have a chatbot on the site?
Yes, it's not published, but we do have it. It's on interior pages.
Perfect example of you doing client work, but not doing it on your own site. We're guilty of it too, by the way, 100%. But who isn't guilty of this? Lauren Schwartz, the other Lauren. Loft 325, she's constantly updating, and she's going to help us with that, obviously, because she's really good at that. She takes, I just found this out, she takes 2 days a week, or tries to take 2 full days a week just to work on content, on her own marketing, tries to take, no appointments or schedule any meetings. It's really hard to do. I respect that enormously because we need to be doing that, and you need to be doing that, obviously, because you're doing it for your clients.
Fair. Well,
it's time for you to be doing it for yourself.
Vulnerable, transparent, because I'm sure there's others listening to this that go through it. I've had a challenge with replacing the amazing EA I had in 2023. So I had an EA with me for over a year and a half who understood me, my brain in and out. And due to health reasons and, things that are personal for her, she had to step away.
Yeah.
And I have been struggling to replace. I compare everyone else to her, and I'm like, oh, she's not Irish. She's not Irish. But we just started. Andrea starts with us this last week. And so I'm eager to see if that. So because of that component, I've got caught up more inside. So there were initiatives that we started last year, like a chatbot for Mongoose Media, that ended up getting shelved because I got caught in stuff that a career EA is going to be more equipped to manage.
Got it. So you got to find that EA.
Oh, no, she's already started.
Oh,
so it's Andrea, and then I have a backup EA as well. Andrea's based in Orlando with me. So I think it's going to be a lot stronger it'll be fun. I'll tell you how it goes. Having an EA that's local, closer, all that jazz.
That's really not just an EA. Sounds like, is this a chief of staff? Is this an EA? Is this just your helper? Is this somebody that's going to help you manage the business? What?
For sure. So for now, at least, I have a 27-page source of truth where I outlined what the different evolutions of this role is. So what to do when an email comes in, what to do when a calendar appointment is set like this, what does success look like on a meeting, and all that defined. I think it's going to start off, though, primarily as an EA, facilitating comms that come into my inbox, working with our project manager to make sure my focus is on the priorities based off of an assortment of criteria that's evaluated against it. Because there would be at times I'd find, the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. And then sometimes I would spend time on an item that didn't require my effort versus something that has greater impact but wasn't as squeaky of a wheel because everything's growing already. So now I get to go back into the stuff that I specifically can help with, that I will have the biggest impact for, that has a priority criteria.
And prioritize on that.
So then 2 days of filming, that sounds wild, but I love that she does it. I'll try to do 2 hours.
It's 2 days of content creation and planning.
Okay.
And I don't know as if she pulls it off every single week, but I was like, you've got to teach me how to do that.
That's a lot.
I know it is, but it's a lot of dedicated time. And by the way, I think when I talked to her about this, it was actually a Friday. So she did actually take, some time to do it. But the point is that moving business forward, instead of being in the business, you're working on the business, is all about what these 90-day, 13-week meetings are really for, because otherwise you lose track and you stop working on the business because you're doing so much inside the business, if that makes sense.
For sure, for
So,
sure. Selfishly, I'm also like, we have some really fun accounts that I actually enjoy jumping into and
Mhm.
like creatively brainstorming about. Whereas I'm not saying Mongoose Media is not fun. It's just that this is like, oh, there's opportunity. There's augmented reality plays that we can do. They're attending this major event that we can co-market their product with the events
Mhm.
marketing. So I get caught up in the, oh, this is fun
Mm.
versus maybe working on Mongoose Media, which would be this is necessary.
I think there's a sweet spot between those two areas, honestly. Like if you derive joy from doing the actual work on specific accounts,
Mm-hmm.
spending more time doing that because it's an area of your expertise and an area of um, enjoyment, but also there's an output that's like highly effective for the client. Balancing that with some of the other like working on the business, like you probably would enjoy marketing more Mongoose Media is my guess. It's like doing like maybe not taking 2 full days, but maybe taking one day and
Yeah.
just working on the business every single week. But then the other 4 days, you're doing stuff that you most like, and hopefully with an EA, you can dish off some of the stuff that you maybe don't like quite as much. Um, but yeah, I mean, I
Or
think
not that I don't like as much that someone else is better at.
true, true. I mean, do you really enjoy bookkeeping or like managing your inbox? Like,
Oh, I don't read my emails.
yeah.
I built with Make, which is a webhook, and I use ChatGPT, and I built in all these filters and rules. Right now, all of my inbox emails have a drafted, not all, a large percentage of them have a drafted email. So I look at drafts now and I hit publish. So if it's different filters, so if it's a high priority and I put a list of everyone that's an existing client and I put their domain name,
Mm-hmm.
then it reads the email, ChatGPT trained, then drafts a reply. It sits in my Gmail draft box so I can hit send.
And you go and you
Mm-hmm.
tick once over. Got it.
Yeah. So I did that because again, it was inbox management. I don't like that, but I was like, how can I remove the lift without a strong supported EA?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to read, process, develop context. I can instead just react.
Hmm. One of these days, we should probably do a show on that because that sounds. I use SaneBox right now, and it's
Okay.
fantastic.
A
But
previous EA introduced it, but then
yeah,
it just got isolated. And so assigning different emails to different people on the team, it
mm,
sounded great. It was just not well executed and communicated
mm,
to the other team members that people will email me stuff that they should go to their client success manager that should have gone to the salesperson.
right.
So it sounds amazing, but we didn't do a change management implementation well.
Hmm. Okay. So one of the things that we talked about before we hit record here today, we've already talked about a couple of other things, is chatbots using
Mm.
AI.
Mhm.
Like, you want to give us a little? We should probably do a secondary show on this because this is a big deal.
Oh, we could do like 10 shows on this.
Yeah.
There's so many
All right. So maybe
aspects to
just
this.
talking about it just in general. Obviously, I sort of threw out a trap question there, and the fact that Mongoose Media doesn't have this on it, but that's okay.
So that's
So
fair. I mean, it'll be published in Q4.
good. We can do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
So tell us like how it's actually done. So this is not done through MediChat. It's like in the typical way. I mean, we used to have a MediChat bot on our site. That was many years ago.
Yeah.
We don't
used
have that
ManyChat.
anymore.
Love
Everything's sort
them.
of changed, right? Yeah, love those guys.
They're still a good firm.
Sure,
It's just
absolutely.
we've graduated to a different chat system.
To the next stage. So when somebody says, "Oh, I want a chatbot on my site," what's the
Okay.
first thing that you sort of tick off? You say, "All right, well, let's see if you have the capacity to be able to do it. Is this something that we can actually pull off?"
Uh-huh.
And then what's the expectation of
Sure.
the client in order to, achieve success?
Invest into an
Yeah,
AI chatbot
exactly.
for ROI. Well, first and foremost, when someone's like, hey, I'm interested in a chatbot, out the gate, if they have at least one customer service person, like a full-time customer service person, a chatbot is going to save them money immediately out the gate. If you have
Yeah.
two, it's it behooves you not to have anything, because a lot of customer service teams end up answering the same FAQs over and over again. It's monotonous.
Right.
Where you could leverage a chatbot to answer about 91% of those inquiries and then have an escalated conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So out the gate, if you have more than one customer service rep, not having a chatbot implemented with AI is just like financially irresponsible.
Okay. Can you give us an
mhm.
example of one? Like I want to leave a link in the show notes. Any URLs that you care to throw out there? Not to put you on the spot, but I
For
guess I am.
client accounts?
Yeah, like ones they can say, all right, well, this is a good example of what a chatbot actually will look like. I mean, I just want to give people sort of visual. If you haven't seen this, it's like it's the little guy in the lower right-hand corner in most cases, on desktop.
Sure. You can go to asianbeautyessentials.com. So we have one on the e-commerce store. So that's like, that's an immature chatbot. It's not as graduated as some of the other ones. But asianbeautyessentials.com is an e-commerce website where you can interact with the chatbot there. It speaks a whole bunch of languages. You can talk to it. So that'll give you an introductory example of a basic level chatbot. It continues to evolve, of course, but in our like chatbot compilation, what generally happens is there are 3 phases when we build out chatbots, where if someone's looking to get one, it has to be clear of like, one, what is the objective of your chatbot? Is it to capture leads? Is it to convert sales? Or is it to schedule bookings, alleviate customer service? It can be all of the above, but when you do your initial build, you need to know what's the highest priority.
Okay.
Because in the first 90 days of that build, we'll have the build done within 3 weeks, the initial one. And then it's like the beginning of that 90 days where everything is built off of what the client thinks the chatbot should include. So it's like, hey, what are the FAQs? What are the main hero products and services that we need to train it on? Mm-hmm. Then after 90 days of working with the client, doing soft alpha and beta launches, we kick the next 90 days, next 13 weeks.
Next 13 weeks.
Of testing with real customers, of giving it, because we'll find that when it's launched to the public, the client's preconceived notions of what they think people will ask is very different than what people actually ask and talk about in the chatbots. And then we get to like month 6, where now it's just evolving and growing. It's established a very clear, clean baseline. We're not aiming for perfection in the first 6 months at all. It's just progression every week, because we're monitoring the conversations. We're expanding on the chatbot opportunities based off of inputs. And then from 6 month day 1 on, it's just an iteration and evolution. So like a client of ours, we have a chatbot that's probably at a utilization rate of 11 to 12%. It's been trained on a lot of resources, but there's just so much more for it to evolve. And, we have like almost 20 hours a week in that build alone. So there's just constantly new iterations. There's, thousands of people going through it. It manages Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and the website. So we'll have stuff where we're doing hundreds of messages a second. It's so much an input of information. And in month 4, it's already generating $10,000 automatically per month without any human assistance.
Wow. Okay.
And again, utilization rates like 11, 12% of how much more it can expand into and what are the greater opportunities. It's just going after the pillar pieces. So in the first 90 days, what does the client want? Now we're like, what are we actually seeing in these conversations? Goal is, in general, if anyone's thinking about a chatbot, when you want to evaluate an alternative sales channel that doesn't require it to stop working because someone calls in sick. It's not dependent on time zone, and if someone's actually awake and can know your product better than 90% of any of the sales or customer service teams, then you may already have. A chatbot can be a really good tool to implement that improves your ad performance, that improves your landing page conversion rates, and alleviates mental trash of time. Because you can have a really talented customer service person that has ideas, that wants to take the sales. Like, it's not going to handle everything. Chatbots will probably handle about 91% of the conversations. Then you get escalated. I need a refund. I had a really bad experience. Something unsafe happened to me. I want to know a deeper conversation. I'm willing to pay for private consulting, talk to a human. If you escalate that 9%, that has a higher yield for a high ticket sale, or to recover from a potentially really damaged customer, or to get over the hurdle of buyer's remorse. So that person who's been spending so much time doing monotonous FAQs, like same thing, like, is your computer on, as the basic first question. You don't have to waste that team member's time on that. You can empower them with an AI chatbot. It's like letting someone do math with a calculator.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing math with the calculator, you have all this extra time instead of like manually calculating it, to bring about better product development, to provide a higher quality of service in those escalated conversations, and to be more integrated with the team.
So if you have a client services or a customer service department,
Uh-huh.
like that's probably the easiest place to
If
go.
you have more than one person,
you have more than one person,
it's irresponsible not to have a chatbot.
Okay. And the database that your builder is actually pulling from
Mhm.
is the database from customer service, I assume. But
Can
be like, what if you like, where is the information actually, what is the large language model that's not such a large language model,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's isolated specifically to this individual business? Where is that pulling from?
Okay, so we use ChatGPT 4.0 and 4 Mini. So ours is
Okay.
dependent upon tokens. So there's a cost to the service of management. And then, like, if you're using a tool and you're leveraging AI, just know that there's a token exchange.
Yep.
So you may be paying as little as like $10 to as high as like $7.50 a month in tokens. And of course, like, that's all dependent on how much traffic and how many people interact and engage with the bot. But so it's using 4.0 Mini or 4.0 as that outside resource. And then we're training it on ecosystems within the client. So yes, FAQ and conversations with customer service. Mm-hmm. We're doing in the first 6 months, we are with the customer service reps side by side. We're like, hey, here's the conversation. How would you do it? Because we'll find situations that we don't have any source of truth to tell us how to handle that conversation.
Okay.
So it automatically gets escalated. When we don't know, it defaults to escalation, and then we monitor that conversation.
When you say escalation,
to a real human.
Got it.
And then we can train it on this new scenario. So a lot of like clients of ours will have YouTube channels, so we can pull transcripts. They'll have knowledge bases. So if you have a knowledge base on your website and you don't have a chatbot, that's just rude. Like, you might have one customer service rep or no customer service rep, but if you have a knowledge base, you're putting the assumption burden on the user to figure out how to work with you, how to get your answer. You'd be like, oh, I've got 1,000 blogs, I've got 200 videos, but I don't know where to go. I just want the answer right away. So if you have a knowledge base of using a Help Scout or any kind of knowledge base on your website, that can all be isolated into a chatbot versus having to have someone fish around. And if it takes them time to find what they're looking for, they're going to find someone else to fulfill for them. Mm. So if you have a knowledge base, it can be trained on that so that someone can get the direct answer right away. It's like Siri, but for your business, and not condescending.
The objection that I always get whenever I talk about this is that I don't have, or my business doesn't have, that repository.
That's good.
Like if you're starting from scratch, if you don't have a knowledge base, if you don't have an FAQ, it's just sort of base understand. Like, at what level, and let's say you have maybe one or two client service folks, or maybe you outsource it. A lot of cases, folks will outsource that.
Yep.
Like, what's the threshold to say, all right, now's the time for me to consider, using an actual, chatbot? Do
people visit your website?
I would assume, yes.
Then you should have a chatbot.
So it's just that simple.
The fact of the matter is that when people visit your website, they don't know, and they're not comfortable calling in or connecting to your contact us. It might be 3 a.m. and it's a stressed out mom. We had talked about how, like, that time period before.
Sure.
Or it might be like they're in the middle of the meeting and they have 5 seconds before they're going to talk to their boss. And if you have a way to facilitate that conversation to get someone the answer faster, why wouldn't you?
So there's no good time to wait. Well, there's no sense in waiting. It's probably a better way of saying it.
Yeah, there's cost affordable solutions. ManyChat, I think they're still at like $15 a month, where it allows you to have that chat widget. Yeah. Now, if you don't train it with AI, I mean, obviously we have a service, so we don't charge that. But when you have, if you have at least one full-time customer service agent, if you already have a knowledge base, you need to hire someone to build and extract that information, because it's not just the cost of additional customer service agents. It's the recovery cost for when a customer service agent does the wrong thing. And it's the cost of training all the additional customer service agents, that all of that gets eliminated.
Right.
And it compounds growth. But if someone's new and just starting out, like, you can do a lot yourself. ManyChat's a really good entry product for those chatbots. A lot of people will think about like keywords and like flows. The reason why leveraging AI is better is because you can't predict what someone's going to say. And if you don't have a knowledge base, it's a great place to start where you can monitor the conversation. Similar to how I like read drafts of my email, then you're essentially reading drafts of customer service. And if something goes awry, then you can contact that person. Yeah. I will just say, in like a full disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, but you do want to make sure that your privacy policy, so if you were to wait until your privacy policy has language that says you're interacting with a chatbot, because that, again, not a lawyer, not legal advice, as I understand it, the chatbot conversations will sit in a repository that people will have access to, and it's akin to wiretapping. So you need to have clear policy alignment, like added elements to your privacy policy. And then what we will do is we ask for permission for someone to continue with the conversation. So we have them acknowledge that they have access to our terms of use and privacy policy.
So you should get a lawyer to consult
for the website ones. I mean, to consult, I mean, I can definitely give, there's a firm out of LA. It's like Row, and I'll give you the URL. They were people that we looked at. They're amazing on this because it's the only thing I would have you predicate on waiting is that your business is set up for success. Now, I'm not the one that's going to like fear you, and there are people that are going to do it regardless.
Right.
I'm just sensitive Sally.
I thought you were Lauren.
Yeah, and then someone comes with you with a lawsuit, and you become sensitive Sally about everything.
And people do that. So yeah, so I think it's, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, especially if you're a large business and you've been thinking about doing this for some time, it's like, this is going to be information that is going to, like, think about it this way, like the information that you gather from your current customers are now going to be a part of your knowledge base, and then are going to be disseminated in some way, shape, or form.
Improve your ad copy, improve your conversion language, have greater accessibility. Not if you assume, if your customer service team only speaks English and maybe also Spanish, you are assuming that your customers are only English speakers and maybe also Spanish speakers. Imagine if they want to get the information in a language that they're most comfortable in, that they can write or speak, because maybe they don't feel comfortable typing in English. Right. Or you can have that greater accessibility to deliver your information and still empower the person to feel liked and heard. Instead of us trying to like get them to know, like, and hear us, the chatbots let us know, like, and hear them.
Interesting. How do you actually pick that? Do you ask that as the first question for the chatbot? Preferred language?
No, whatever language they're typing in, we reply back in.
Oh, okay. Got it. So it automatically detects.
Yeah. Yep. And you can go in between it. So I'll do like Italianese. So Italian to English, back and forth, throw in a little bit of French, go to Google Translate, throw in some Chinese. Like there's like 47 different languages that are involved in it. And then if you you talk into it, it will type back responding in the language you've spoken.
That's pretty cool.
It's just, it empowers the end user to be sold to in a language that they're comfortable with, and then they can buy in English, because they're going to buy in English, especially if you're selling in the US. They're comfortable buying in English. That's what they're accustomed to all the time. But if you can surprise and delight them by selling to them in their preferred language, you've just made it more accessible and more likely for them to convert. And like some of the target, if you're like thinking about having a chatbot, just know that these are the target KPIs you want to go after. You want to convert 80% of the people that enter your chatbot into a subscriber. How many people start conversations with you and then they just sit in the ecosphere and you don't know who they are? You don't have them documented in your CRM. Your chatbot should be converting 80%. Your chatbot should also be converting up to 20% of anyone that starts a conversation. The way I describe this is like if you're shopping, right? You're at the mall. Cool. You got to your website. You're at the mall. You go into the store. You've opened up the chat conversation. Right. And then you've engaged with it. You've seen like, okay, yes, I accept the privacy policy, all that stuff. You've essentially asked the person, where can I try these clothes on? If you're going to try clothes on in the store, you know that you're going to convert at least 1 in 5 of those people, because they're going to try it on. The only reason they're not going to buy is if they have sticker shock or it doesn't look good on them. They're already trying it on. So you would be aiming to have 20% of all conversations started to converting. And if you don't know how many messages you're currently monitoring right now, and if you don't know the conversion rate on those, that's just, again, an irresponsible way to not leverage a sales channel that isn't dependent on CPMs, that isn't dependent on like market fluctuations such as like politics and Black Friday, Cyber Monday, in a way to make your ads perform better and your website convert stronger. Wow, that was obnoxious.
There's a lot there. I have a feeling we should probably do a couple more episodes on this because this isn't something that we ever talked about. I think
if people want to hear more about chatbots, 100%.
All prompted by you going to Europe, by the way. So
yeah.
Converting on your website while you're not there.
To be fair, my website currently doesn't say anything about the chatbots that we offer. And we've done so many chatbots for our clients. It just becomes yes, hey, we're doing this. We do a lot with Facebook ads. We would see people ignoring comments on ads like, why do you do that? Yeah. Why do you do that? It's like the equivalent of reviews on Amazon. And so they were neglecting those. We had a client that had thousands of unanswered DMs, emails, customer service. Like, it was drowning. There's people say, take my money. And they were ignored. Yeah. So we could lift that operational challenge.
Right.
And then we empowered their entire sales team to do what they do best, which is why our chatbots are doing sales in our sleep.
Right.
And it never takes a day off. It doesn't get sick. And, this is my favorite piece. It's responsive.
You don't have to pay any employment taxes on those chatbots either. Or
give your chatbots a personality, though.
Name it. All right.
Give them a personality.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And like, be on it. Like, give them names. We call ours related to the product or service. But have fun with it. And then the chatbots will have fun back with people. If someone comes to you sarcastic, if it's within your brand, you can be sarcastic back. If they come to you angry, you can be sympathetic back. So you can have conversations and mimic how they're talking to you. And look, let's be real. If you didn't have enough coffee when you start your day, your customer service agent might be more like not giving the answers you want.
Like I am before my first cup of coffee. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been tremendous. You've actually got to catch a flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just about at that time, and Robbie's going to be back here any minute now from his walk around the park. We sent her husband off for like a walk around Boston. Hopefully, he'll come back. So you
that sounded way worse. Hopefully, he comes
we'll have to
back.
Track him down. You have him on Find My.
We're gonna have breakfast in Paris. I need him back.
He better come back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want you to miss your flight here, but this has been awesome. You drove all the way out while you Ubered out or lifted out. From the Logan Airport all the way out to Brookline here to the Tier 11 Perpetual Traffic studio, which is going to be more of a kick-ass studio in 2025. You've inspired me now because you've now done this. So plus it'd be a great little write-off for you to come to Boston.
Done.
So perfect.
Done.
But so we will leave links in the show notes here for everything that we talked about here today. A couple of different things, obviously some resources on ChatGPT Builder, a lot of the stuff that Lauren talked about. If you like this show, let us know in the comments, the reviews. That goes a long way to helping us get a wider audience here, and leave a rating wherever you listen to the show. We certainly appreciate that as well. So
you have no idea how much we appreciate it. My favorite humans are the ones that write the reviews.
I know there's been a lot actually recently. And so I will say this, let's make a pact now. For those people who have left reviews in the last 3 months, we will shout them out on air. And for any new reviews or ratings that we get from any listener of Perpetual Traffic, we will announce it on the show to start the show.
But only if you promise that we can do all. If there is someone that has a way for us to improve. And
I think there's actually some of the more critical ones, the funniest ones. Actually the best ones.
How did I end up on the show? I wrote the funniest review.
You did actually. We still I copied and pasted that somewhere.
You find it says Princess Lauren.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So anyway, I got it. You never know. Like a comment or on the podcast or a review on the podcast might actually get you to be the next co-host. How is that possible? All right, maybe it'll replace me. But anyway,
no,
all right.
Never.
No.
We'll just put the blonde hair right here. Hold on.
Unfortunately, they're kind of stuck with me on this one.
See
Yeah,
what it looks like with blonde
that's
hair?
good. we did do this at Traffic and Conversion Summit.
Yeah, but now we have it on video.
It's good. It's even better now. All right. Well, make sure, like I said, leave a rating, leave a review. Obviously, check this out over on our YouTube channel, perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. You can see us actually together. Like, that's really her. Yeah, look at
I was
that.
trying to pinch you so you'd be like, ow.
Ow. That's all right.
It's just muscle.
It's all muscle right there. That's it.
It's flexing.
Up here, too. All right. So, on behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo, on our way to Europe.
Ciao.
And actually, really, you're going to be talking like that in like just a matter of hours. Till next show. See ya.